Killer create vibes now.
Welcome to another episode of the Get Love Like Mine podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Keisha Amos. This is my beautiful husband, Sam Amos. This is, I think, our 8th episode. We have gotten so much positive feedback, and I just want to thank everyone who's been listening. If you're not following us already, follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Get Love Like Mine podcast. On Twitter, we're Get Love Like Mine. You can find us on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. We also do a segment, we usually do it at the end, called Ask the Amoses. If you have a question, it can be any type of question. We will read it anonymously. Email us at getalovelikeminepodcast@gmail.com and put in the subject line, Ask the Amoses.
So today, since we usually end our episodes with a question, I wanted to do things a little different and start off with a question. This will be Ask the Amoses also. You're an Amos, so I'll ask you. I had an issue the other day, and I just wonder how many of our listeners have gone through something similar to it. Here's the question. Have you ever been over a friend's house to eat, and the food just wasn't no good? I mean, the macaroni was soggy, the peas was all mushy, and the chicken tastes like wood. So you do know what I'm talking about. Thank you. Okay. Back to the subject.
Well, to answer your question, yes, I have been to a friend's house and the food was no good. So you just politely take that little paper plate, fold it up, slide it in the trash face down so nobody can see.
Handle your business.
And get to saying, I don't know what's wrong. I'm full already.
No. Pile some more on your plate.
All right. Well, today we are discussing growing pains. What happens when you fall out of love, fall out with a friend, lose your passion for your job, all sorts of things. So we can just go ahead and get started.
Okay. We'll start off with, in a relationship, it's not odd or out of the ordinary for, if you've been together for a while, to, I guess for lack of better words, fall out of love or just grow apart. Mm-hmm. So give me some feedback on things that you can do to avoid this from happening, or even just give some signs
that it's happening.
Right. And I know a relationship, it doesn't take much for you to get on autopilot. Everybody's going through kind of the same routines, the same motions every week, every month. Everybody's doing their own thing, and the relationship gets stale. It's not exciting, and it loses its spark. So, tell me what you think about that.
Well, a lot actually. So, that used to be the norm for me. Like, to be with somebody, and probably after about 2 or 3 years, I just would get bored with them. I would, basically just grow apart. I remember the first time I really had my heart broken, a guy told me, he said he didn't like me anymore. It literally broke my heart. The only thing got me through it was Mary J. Blige. But that happens in relationships. But now that I'm, older, I think a lot of times that happens when, like you always say, you need to get to know your partner. I think sometimes when people end up having babies too soon, when they didn't take the time to get to know each other, then, like you said, they get on autopilot. So everyone's concerned about the baby and no one's focusing on the relationship. So sometimes having a child with somebody where you would think it would bring you guys closer, it can actually bring you closer to the child, but make the relationship grow apart. So it's very important to, take time, have date night, steal away. It doesn't even have to be date night, because sometimes with a kid, you don't have time for date night. You don't have a babysitter for date night. So you might have to make a special lunch, or once you put the kid down for a nap or for bedtime, have a space. You have to focus some time for your mate to make sure that you guys don't grow apart. I've seen a lot of single moms who put all their focus on their children, understandably so, but then when it comes time to being in a relationship, they don't put that same effort forth, because they're like, well, my kids come first and I have to do this for my kids, and I don't have time for myself, and I don't have time for a relationship. But really, if you're trying to be in a relationship, you have to make time and put forth a lot of effort to keep you guys from growing apart.
I can speak from the male point of view, that a lot of times men, our understanding is bad, and it's not odd, it's not strange, it's probably bad that a man will take a woman's actions and compare them to her other actions. Let me explain what I mean. So it may appear to him, because men shouldn't do that. You shouldn't put a woman on a trial by jury like this. So what he's doing, he's looking at the effort she puts into taking care of the kid versus the effort she puts into spending time with him. Okay, and there may be discrepancy there. It happens. It's not abnormal for a woman to put a lot of effort into that kid, because if the kid's young enough, he can't do much of it. If you're in diapers, he can't change his own diaper.
Right.
He can't feed himself. He can't use the microwave. All this other good stuff. So she may put all her effort into that kid and making sure the kid's safe and had eaten and clean and all this other good stuff. And then by the time that kid falls asleep, well, she's exhausted, and he's looking at her like, "Hey, why don't we?" And she's like, "I'm just tired out." Well, you had the energy to deal with the kid. What about me? And so men, we do that, and it's not right. But I think it just feels bad because you want to spend time with your spouse or your mate. And like you said, the kid brings a whole nother dynamic into a relationship. So for starters, if you want to keep from growing apart, your understanding has to be there. I mean, I know there's some sacrifice. You're going to have to give up some you and me time, for the benefit of the kid. But it's huge if your understanding is bad, if your attitude is bad, if you had a bad date. I mean, there's so many things that can contribute to what goes on in your head.
I've seen women say that it's almost like the husband or the boyfriend is jealous of the baby.
Right, exactly.
Because the baby is getting so much attention, or the child is getting so much attention. But us as women, we don't see it that way. First of all, we have a motherly nature that comes over us once we have a baby. Once you have that first baby, you may not have had this nurturing feeling prior to it, but once you have your own baby, you have this, it's like a mama bear type feeling that comes over you, where you have to take care of this baby. And a lot of us won't ask for help.
And so, let me just say this before we go too far. That's something that men, we don't have that because we didn't carry the baby.
Right.
Right? That's not inside of us. So that's an understanding that we need right off the bat. Just right off the bat. If we don't understand that, okay, here we go.
Right.
We're going apart.
Right.
So.
And I think because we don't ask for help, we almost grow a little resentment towards the man because he may be looking at it like, well, I can't feed the baby. Well, I can't do this, So if I'm breastfeeding, I might ask you to change all the diapers. And then you like, oh, no, I'm not about to change all these dirty diapers. And, you just laying around, but not knowing that she's exhausted from... this baby is basically milking her all day long. Like, that takes energy out of you. And then you're constantly worrying. When you have a newborn, you're constantly thinking, okay, this baby has to eat every 2 hours. So in your brain, the wheels are turning. The wheels are turning because you have to keep track of when did they last eat, when did they last poop, when did you last give them a bath, when did you last take a bath. Okay, you got to get them on this schedule so they can go to bed by a certain time. And if that baby is not on that schedule, if they're one of those babies that sleeps in the daytime and is up all night, oh, she's running on fumes. So because she's not going to ask for help, she's building resentment towards you when really you could just offer. Let me go take a shower. Let me play with the baby. Let me watch the baby. I'll take care of the baby for a minute. Go get your hair done. Go get your nails done. I think that type of effort on a man's part can make a world of difference for that mom and stop them from growing apart. Because I'm telling you, having a baby, it really just will come in and disrupt your norm. Especially if you don't really know the person that good to begin with.
Honestly, men, we could stand to go through a little training or class with all the stuff you just said, because if our mind doesn't think that way, and we don't hear that from someone, what you just said, it's just a mentality, that whole mindset of, let me interject some help here, because when you don't ask, we figure you got it.
Yeah, we're too busy trying to be super moms to prove to you and our moms and our friends that we got this.
Or no one else is going to do it, right?
Right.
I got to do it. Right.
And so it becomes a bit of resentment, like I don't have any help. You almost, even when you're living with the dad or married to the dad, it almost still feels like you're a single mother. And ladies, we have to learn to ask for help. I mean, I remember I think it was a Mother's Day sermon. Pastor Davis talked about men like they get trained up to feel like moms are supposed to take care of everything. Everything is always, go ask your mama. I'm hungry. Go ask your mama. I hurt myself. Go tell your mama. And it just really shouldn't be that way. Men have to step up. Sometimes women, like I said, they're too busy trying to be super mom that they won't ask for help, but they need help. So, if you see your mother of your child struggling or doing something out of the ordinary, it's good to just go ahead and insert yourself and offer some type of help.
Offer.
Yeah. Even sometimes just the offer. She might not take you up on it, but just the offer can make her feel closer to you, like, he gets me. He understands what I'm going through.
So, and when he doesn't, then that's like the beginning of allowing space to come between y'all. And then, it's always easy to point out what someone else is doing wrong, and we're huge fans of fixing what's in the mirror.
Yeah.
The two of us, we argued on the front end of our relationship when we first were dating often.
All the time.
Often. And then we had to ask the question, like, where's this going? Where is it going to stop? What is the problem? What can we do to fix this? Well, the answer was, can I see myself with someone else? Do I need to replace you because we can't get along? Well, no, I don't want nobody else.
It was crazy. We would argue and say we can't get along, but when we weren't arguing, it was like, this is my best friend in the whole world. We just couldn't understand how we could go from one to the other. And I think when we just stopped focusing on what the other person was doing wrong and started fixing ourselves, it just made a world of difference.
It's not always the easiest thing to do. Mm-hmm. Like I say, it's easy for folks to see what you did wrong. They can point out when you came in late, mm-hmm. when you said you were going to do something and you didn't. Mm-hmm. There's all kinds of things that you can see that your spouse didn't do right, or whoever you were dating. They could clean some things up there. But what you need to fix is not that person. If you just fix yourself, you'll be amazed at how much other stuff will fall in line.
I think not only that, but if you just fix yourself and worry about yourself, you'll be surprised at how many of the other person's things don't bother you anymore. It's crazy. Speaking of growing apart, in my first marriage, I was like so overly concerned with what my ex-husband was doing, and he literally he was not being nice about it. He told me, you need to find something to do with yourself. And so I did. I started working out. I started going to the gym, and I got so focused on myself. Like, I lost 20 pounds. I got so focused on myself that I ain't even like him no more. It's sad to say, but that's how we grew apart. It's him telling me I need to worry about myself.
What was the statement he made?
You need to find something to do with yourself.
Oh, man.
And I found something to do with myself, and then I wasn't even concerned about all the stuff that I at first thought he was doing wrong. It was like, I don't even care. I don't even care what you do anymore. And we grew apart. It was sad, at the time, but
lesson learned.
Yeah. God had something better in store for me. That's the only way I can look at it. But have you ever grown apart from a friend, not a girlfriend, a boyfriend, or baby mama, a wife, but a actual a homeboy or something like that? Have you ever grown apart?
I have. It happens, especially as you get older. Mm. And I was always told by my mom and older folks that, those people that you think you're friends, they're not really your friends. They're just around, some of them are just around for what they can get out of you or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But as I got older and things in my life it got really hard for me. So I had trouble finding a job. And, without a job, you don't have much money. Without much money, you can't do hardly anything. So that whole domino effect was going on in my life. So once I started to really focus on Christ, and I would read my Bible every day, and I had gotten this new Bible that it was in a new translation where you really could understand it, because that was a huge part of misunderstanding church, is you just didn't understand what are these scriptures talking about. Mm-hmm. But once I understood, it was almost just like reading just a regular book, right? But you were getting something out of it, right? Mm-hmm. So the more I read, the more I couldn't stop reading, and by me focusing on just that a lot in my life, it made me not want to do some of the other things, which running with the fellas and clubbing or whatever it was that was going on. Mm-hmm. And those friends, they weren't walking the same walk I was walking. They weren't into Christ and the Bible and what can I learn from this? What is it all about? Because when you're brought up in that, my mom made us go to church. And we went. And then when you got older, you didn't learn much as a kid. Once you got older and you start learning, you say, oh, okay, well, I see why, she had such emphasis on us going. Mm-hmm. Well, those friends may not have grown up the way you grew up. Right. They may not have been in church like that. So their walk and your walk wasn't the same walk. So here we are at a crossroad. You know, what's gonna give here? Are y'all gonna stop what you're doing and do what I do? Am I gonna stop what I'm doing and do what y'all do? Or we just grow apart? And so we did.
There's always that feeling of can I do both? Can I try to walk with God and try to live in the world and be with my friends? And it's hard to do. I know I spoke on a previous episode about me going to that Encounter God weekend with my church. And after the weekend, I went to a few meetings with the ladies of the church. And the biggest thing for me was trying to live this newfound way and to keep my same friends who, like you said, were not on the same journey. It's not that they didn't believe in God, but they weren't
The same walk.
they weren't in the same place as I was. And I really ended up just keeping my friends. Like, they had been my friends for years, like since childhood. It was hard to walk away. So it was like I tried to live that separate life. Like, I'm going to try to do better this way, but I'm still going to keep my friends. And I was able to do it for a while, but at the same time, you know, God, even when you don't know that He's working, He's working. And it wasn't until a few years back when my dad passed that I was able to see my friends for really what they were. And I'm not going to say they didn't love me. And, you know, I can say the same about my first husband. He loved me. He just didn't love me the way I felt like I needed to be loved. And my friends, I felt like, should have been there for me more so than what they were. Like, my dad passed on a Monday. So many people had reached out. Well, you were there. It's no point in me telling you. Tell the audience. So many people had reached out that, you know, brought us food, and all my cousins, like, they just held me down because I was my dad's only child. But I have so many cousins, and they helped me in so many ways to, you know, get things accomplished, and co-workers, and my sister-in-laws, my husband's sisters. Oh my God, they just came through. And my two best friends who had been there for years, since childhood, I didn't see them until the day of the funeral. And even then, they were late because we were sitting on the front row. You know, everybody come by to view the body. I didn't see them until the repast. And so I'm not going to say that was the only reason. It was a number of things that surrounded that time. But during that time, because I was grieving and I had so many responsibilities with my dad, it just helped me to see that, yeah, they may be my friends, but maybe I shouldn't have them on this high pedestal like I had them, to the point where I wouldn't walk away from them even though we weren't on the same walk. So at that time, it was easy to walk away from them. And sadly, but not so sadly, my life became so much more blessed after they were not around. It, you know, I'm not saying God blessed me because they weren't around, but it almost seemed that way. And to the point where one of them, even though we stopped talking, when she reached out and, you know, wanted to start talking again, I was hesitant because I was like, what if God, you know, delivered me from this and He don't want me to go back? You know, I just didn't even know how to handle it. But I prayed about it, and we're good now. We're in a pretty good place. It's nowhere near like it was, but we're not enemies either. So I'm grateful for that. I still consider them my friends. It just, you know, took me some time to be able to realize I can't do this and that at the same time.
Old folks call it straddling.
Straddling the fence. I can't straddle the fence.
But it also, once you go through those types of things and you get older. See, I put a lot of emphasis on getting older because I hang around a lot of older people. All my friends are older than me. You learn to be mature about stuff. You know, we don't have to get loud, argue, and cuss at everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as you go through life, you're going to see all kinds of stuff that's wrong. You can't raise your blood pressure for everything that goes on wrong around you.
Mm-hmm.
Raising kids, especially, teachers may act up at school. They may not even be qualified to be a teacher. They're just in there for the paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you just can't go nuts over every little thing that's not right in this world. You'll be popping medicine for the rest of your life, you know. So I said all that to say, like, dealing with those friends, and they're still friends, like we've known each other for however long. I don't have to be ugly with y'all.
Right.
I don't have to call you and say, hey man, you know, you just really you just really ain't about nothing. Let me tell you about this. We don't have to go and we don't have to do that. There's a much more mature way to handle these things once you know what you know.
Right, I agree. So we've talked about growing apart in relationships and friendships, but I want to talk to you guys about growing apart in a job. I have worked in public service for about 30 years. And I can honestly say that every time God was ready for me to move, He would stir something up on the inside of me. I just would dread going to work. I would find any excuse to not go. I'm sick, my car broke down. I mean, I would just make up anything to say, I'm not going in there. I need another vacation. I just got off vacation. I need another vacation. Because God will always stir something up on the inside of me. I mean, He will make me so uncomfortable to where I will almost get sick trying to go into this job, knowing that I didn't want to be there. And I wanted to talk about it because a lot of people don't know that that's what that feeling is. A lot of people think, I just hate my job. Sometimes that feeling of dread when you pull up in the parking lot is the Holy Spirit stirring something up inside of you to make you want to move, to make you want to take a leap of faith, to try something new, to follow your passion, to follow your calling. And my journey through life has always resulted in that. It's always been, even in my first marriage, my decision to leave was that feeling on the inside of me that this is not where I'm supposed to be. God will give you that comforting, that sign from the Holy Spirit to show you that that's not where you're supposed to be, and it's okay for you to take that first step. Because if you just take the first step, He's gonna lead the path. He's already ahead of you anyway. You're basically just walking in His footprints. He just wants you to make that leap on your own. How you feel about that? Because I know you've been having that feeling.
I am, and I know that a lot comes with that feeling. Mm-hmm. And, you know, like you said, a lot of people will have that feeling and not know that's what that is, or they're just, for lack of better words, I guess, afraid to step out like that. Mm-hmm. And it's not easy to do, especially when there's folks depending on you.
Right.
You know, you may be married and your spouse doesn't work, or you have kids and you feel, well, I'm paying child support. All these things will keep you.
If you're looking for an excuse, you'll find one.
Oh yeah, they're right there.
Right.
They're right there when you wake up, and so it's very easy to just stay put and wonder and wish. You know, I wonder if I had followed this or that, how it would have come out. But and the sad part about that is a lot of folks are really, really talented, and their talents go to waste. Because you don't just believe in yourself like that, and you always have those friends that are right there to help doubt you. I wouldn't do that if I were you.
I remember when I was working at the post office, there was this lady who, at the time I was working nights, going to school in the daytime, and so we were at work. I was sleepy, and she was like, "Why are you so sleepy?" I said, "Because I went to class this morning." She was like, "What you going to school for? You going to school just to keep working here?" And I'm like, "No, I'm going to school because I'm not supposed to be here anymore." I wish I knew where that lady was to tell her, not only did I finish undergrad, I've gone to law school, I'm a whole lawyer now. So for her to step in and ask me, "What are you going to school for?"
You listen to this episode, huh?
Yes, like, okay. But yeah, God will really send the Holy Spirit to make something move on the inside of you, and you're not going to be able to shake that feeling. It's not going to get better. It's not going to get better until you start taking a step to do something different. I remember when I was at CPS, I loved the job initially.
Horrible job.
My husband hated the job because, you had days you were on call. You might not. I remember one night I went in to work at like 7 that morning. I didn't get home until 3 the next morning. You just never know what you're walking into, and I really started dreading the job. But I applied to law school, and once I knew I got in and that I was going to be quitting the job, oh my God, I loved the job. It was a wonderful job. I loved going in. It was all because I knew I had a plan to do something different. So if you're experiencing that right now,
kind of evaluate yourself.
Yeah, see, put some things in place, and sometimes just take the leap of faith. God is going to be with you. Just pray about it. He's going to be right there guiding your steps.
Even if it's that scary, just take little small steps first. You don't have to jump off the cliff.
Yeah. All it takes is one. So our last topic is growing apart. I saw, we were talking about growing apart, but I saw this on Facebook. One of my friends posted. This lady asked a question, how to deal with her emotions, because she had 2 children and she did not like her oldest child. When the baby was younger, of course she loved her and did for her, but then she had, I think they're at this time 8 and 5. So I guess for the first 3 years she was fine with them, but now that the 5-year-old came, now the 5-year-old is clearly her favorite. But she has, in essence, grown apart from the 8-year-old. She loves her. She says she still provides for her, but she does not like her as a person. So I wanted to see how a father feels about that, growing apart from your kid, or having a kid that you don't like, that you love but you don't like.
I know it can happen. Just like folks say you're not supposed to have a favorite. Yeah, that all sounds good politically.
He got a favorite.
That sounds good politically, but most people have a favorite. Mm-hmm. They may not say it out loud, especially when the kids are around. That may not be politically correct. Mm-hmm. But growing to a point where you don't like the kid, not love, but like. Mm-hmm. I can't say I've really experienced that. Now, do my kids get on my nerves from time to time? Yes. That doesn't mean I don't like you. Most parents, if you love your kids, all you really want is to see them succeed in life. Mm-hmm. If you succeed, I feel like I did my job. I don't want you to go through the same struggles I went through. I'm trying to shortcut you on those so you don't have to. Then you don't listen. Mm-hmm. And here we go, kind of like when we were younger, we probably didn't listen either. But I've never had to deal with a kid that I didn't like, even though I've seen it in other families before, like some of these TV
Where
shows.
they clearly didn't like.
They clearly didn't like them, like, and so I know it can happen. Now, I would hope that that parent would find a way to channel that energy a different way, because one of the worst things a kid can feel is the negative energy from a parent not liking them. Now, that doesn't mean, because I've heard this also, that a lot of parents feel like if I discipline my kid, if I whoop my kid for what they did wrong, he's not going to like me. And it works just the opposite.
Right.
I've put the belt on my kids back in the day before without hesitation, because you need to understand how life works. When you make a mistake, it needs to be corrected. You need to understand that was a mistake. Because if I don't correct you, then the world, when you get out there, is going to correct you. And it's going to be a rude awakening.
Yeah.
So you need to be prepared for the way the world works. That's the only reason parents should discipline these kids. You need to understand what you did was wrong. You don't need to do that no more. So I've put the belt on my kids, and yeah, they cried. They don't want to see dad. When I was little, I didn't want to see my dad, because when he put it on you, he put it on you.
Right.
But with good reason. He was doing his job. And so I do this to my kids, and before you know it, I can't move anywhere. This kid is following me around the house. If I go outside and take a step backwards, bam, there that kid is. They absolutely love you more after the whooping. It doesn't make sense. Like,
because it's not your nature to whoop them. So it's almost like they know they messed up and they're following behind you to make sure you're not still mad at them. They just want to make sure you still love them. And of course you do.
That's right.
Yeah.
I've had many days where if I had to discipline my child, after the punishment, I would give them a hug while they're still crying. Like, hey, you know the old saying, this is going to hurt me more, it's going to hurt you. Well, you probably don't see it that way when you're behind the smoking. But really, I wish I didn't have to punish or discipline any of my kids. But that comes with, that's a part of life. And we're not going to skip over it.
Right.
When I set the rules of this house, you're not going to act up at school. You're not going to act up at church. I don't really know where you can act up, but I don't.
You're not going to act up at home.
That's right. You're not going to act up at home. And when we get in the store, guess what you're not going to do? Act up. So I don't know where you go get this acted up in, but it's not going to happen on my watch. And if it does, just understand what comes with it. There's consequences to whatever you do. So we've always grown up knowing that. Our pastor used to preach that the biggest thing you can do for a parent is to follow through on what you say. So don't promise them a discipline. I'm going to whip you behind if I catch you such and such, whatever. And then they do it and you don't carry through.
Yeah.
So then they do it again and again and again. No, don't do that. You're going to ruin that kid.
Yeah.
My pastor used to say, my son's biggest concern is what comes out of my mouth. He knows without a shadow of a doubt, whatever I say, I'm going to do it. His only thing is trying to get me to say something.
That's funny. Well, I think it's possible to not like your kid, but not when they're a kid. Like, when they're a kid, like, they don't even know who they are yet. They're forming. Their brains are forming. Their personalities are forming. And whoever that little girl is, that little 8-year-old is, that mama sees herself in her. She either sees herself in her or she sees that daddy that she don't like in her. That's the only way I can see you not liking your own kid. But let's make that kid into, instead of 8, she's 18. I completely think you cannot like your kid.
Oh yeah, and see that kind of threw me off when you gave the ages.
Yeah.
Because my first thought was, when they get in the teenagers, and I think I'm grown, or I'm feeling grown, so I'm gonna be more independent here. Yeah, I could definitely see it then, but at such a young age, that's kind of rare at that early age.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it's something in the mom that she is seeing in that girl, that she sees it now, but it's something that she does or someone she knows that she doesn't like does, that she's seeing it early and she's thinking that's going to be a characteristic that daughter is going to keep. Because I think when some of the things kids do at 8, by the time they're 12, they're not even still doing those things. They're not sure the things they like. They might play with dolls at 8, and by the time they get to 12, they don't like dolls anymore. They don't like make believe anymore. So I don't think you know enough about her, or that she even knows enough about her for you to form such a strong opinion. But I feel like the fact that you say it publicly, you're messing that little girl up. Because like you said, kids can feel that energy. And how do you act as a child when you find out or you feel like your mom doesn't like you? So it's just a bad situation. But I think if she was 18, oh yeah, you can definitely realize because now they're not your responsibility anymore. Well, they shouldn't be. But they have grown into somebody, and especially like if they're 28, you might see stuff in them that you just don't like. You still love them because they're your child. You still, do for your grandkids, or you might still do for your child. But I can honestly say if your kid is grown, you can make that assessment and say, yeah, I don't like them. But not when they're a kid. Not when they're a kid. They're still growing. They don't even know who they are. For you to be able to make that kind of call.
So let me just take that whole scenario just one little tiny step further. What advice would you give to that parent that has made that statement that I don't like this kid, and the kid is actually that young? What would you advise for the parent in a situation like that?
The same thing I advise everybody for everything, to pray about it. Pray and ask God to reveal what it is that's on the inside of you that's making you make that call about your own seed. Like, this child is part of you. You birthed her, you raised her. So whatever kind of bad person you think she is, she has only learned from you. So I don't understand how you can make that call and not feel some type of way on the inside about your own self. So I would definitely advise her to pray on it. Don't tell that child that you don't like them. I would give that advice. Don't say that. Don't ruin that child's childhood by making her feel unwanted and unloved by her own parent. If you feel like you don't like her, at least pretend like you do, until God reveals whatever it is that's making you feel that way. And just pray about it. That's my biggest advice for anything. Pray about it. Pray about that. So I think we've come to the end of the show, and let's go ahead and send a prayer to that mom. I pray that you are able to establish a better relationship with your daughter. Pray that you have a relationship with God, that you know that you can go to Him and talk about anything and everything and ask Him to restore that relationship. Because one thing about growing apart, God can restore. He can restore whatever is broken. So it's not too late. We pray for all those who've been watching the podcast, listening to the podcast. We only do this for the glory of God, and we pray that our testimony and our honest opinion will draw you closer to God. And if you don't have a relationship with Him, establish one. And so that's all we have for today. We will see you guys next Sunday.
Have a peaceful week. Thank you.